In this week's segment of Capital Connection, CBS 58's Emily Fannin and WIS Politics editor J.R. Ross discuss the locations of both national conventions and who could appear on the ballot against Senator Tammy Baldwin in 2024. Take a look.
JR, we now know what the stages are set for the national conventions. We know that Republicans will be in Milwaukee, and now Democrats have officially chose Chicago. So it's kind of this Midwest showdown that we're going to see. And what will be interesting, of course, we know Illinois has always been a blue state. Republicans kind of pick Milwaukee to try to make inroads in the city, if they've been trying to do for the past couple of years. But in short, too, it will be kind of an interesting dynamic because there hasn't been really two of these close conventions in a very long time.
No, going back to '72, and both parties were in Miami Beach, Florida. The closest they've been was New York and Boston in '04. They're also going to be a month apart this year, not quite, but roughly. What I'm kind of interested in is, one, is there going to be any kind of real impact on the results in November from the conventions? Going back the last 20 years or so, I can't say convention was here, they won here, right? So interesting to see if Milwaukee, if it makes a difference for Republicans or if it becomes a nightmare. Let's go through the what ifs. What if Donald Trump is not the nominee for Republicans and decides to have a rally in Waukesha the same time they're having their convention to undermine the nominee? I mean, there's all kinds of like what ifs. You can see where it could be a great thing for Republicans to be in Milwaukee, and it could be a nightmare. For Democrats in Chicago, it's a union city. They're trying to drive a message about, being there for organized labor. Joe Biden's big about that. But again, the blue wall of Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, I don't know that this is going to really change how they vote in November or have any impact on that.
Or what the outcomes will be. There's no guarantee if you hold a convention in a state that you're going to win that state. We also know that the stage is set for who will host the first presidential primary for Republicans in Milwaukee in August. It will be hosted by Fox News, which will also be partnering with former Governor Scott Walker's foundation, which is Young Americans Foundation, and the streaming website Rumble. And speaking and sticking on the topic of 2024, we also learned that this week Senator Tammy Baldwin will be officially seeking re-election in 2024. Now, looking back at her last race, which was supposed to be contentious in 2018, she won by 11 points over Republican then Senator Leah Vukmir. So, but also let's talk about the possibilities. We don't have any official people who will run, but we only know of some people who have expressed interest, like businessman Eric Hovde. He kind of suggested a run for U.S. Senate after not running for governor as a Republican. So there's other names out there, but nothing really set in stone yet.
No, I've talked to Hovde in recent weeks. I've talked to Scott Mayer, Franklin businessman, who was actually in Washington, D.C. this past week, talking to consultants. They're kind of in my pot of people who are actually being active, talking to consultants, gauging an idea about a run. Then you have people like Mike Gallagher, congressman from Green Bay, well, Iowa actually. He is kind of the candidate that Republicans nationally want. They're trying to recruit him to run, but he can do the calculation. Tammy Baldwin's in pretty strong position, two-term incumbent, proven fundraiser, known for working the state quite well. Looking at the national map, resources are going to go first for Republicans toward Ohio, West Virginia, Montana. There's this kind of next tier of Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Nevada. Arizona's this kind of wild card, what's going on down there. But will there be money here? And two, will there be an environment that's conducive to beating Baldwin? What I'm looking for, if I were a Republican, I'd want to see Joe Biden's numbers go in the tank. But I want to see the economy, not that I'm rooting against the economy, but have the economy go south. That sets the stage for maybe a better environment, because if it's as is right now, Baldwin's going to be pretty tough to beat. Now, remember in 2018, she had a 5-to-1 cash advantage over Leah Vukmir. So it wasn't a fair fight like lots of parts of the state. Looking back at outside spending, like $26 million. Our Senate campaign in 2022 was $200 million, okay? So there's money out there. The question, would it flow to Wisconsin? And is there an opportunity for Republicans? Don't forget the math problem they have right now, Dana Milwaukee counties, the WOW counties, lots of variables. But I'd say right now, Baldwin's in good position, but there's that doors open if the things change for a challenger to come in.
Now let's touch on the latest Brewers negotiation as they're trying to figure out some deal to keep the team in Milwaukee. We both spoke to Assembly Speaker Robin Vos. Kind of gave a little bit of tidbits about what that plan will look like. We know he doesn't really necessarily want it to be included in the budget, but it could possibly be a trailer bill. He said he doesn't really want to use any state funds likely for the plan. What about labor agreements is a big question mark. Is it going to mimic a Pfizer deal that we saw many years ago? And we know that there's a timeline when I asked him, when are you thinking? And he's thinking by something this summer.
So the only state money he's really willing to put in is what we would lose, the Brewers go away. So there's about $23 million between sales tax revenue generated off of Miller Park being there and the activity around it, and the salaries of players, not just the Brewers themselves, but those who come in and play in Wisconsin. He's okay with using that toward a package. The questions are, what will the local input going to be? What's a team input going to be? What's the deal going to look like? How will it be structured? Will it be a ticket tax? And oh, by the way, putting it in a bill in tandem with the budget means you're going to need Democratic votes. I've talked to some Republicans who are more open to this than they were originally, saying, hey, you know what? We started to do the math of like what we'd lose in Wisconsin without the Brewers here, plus we basically own the stadium. Whereas Fiserv, you're building a stadium for the team, we already own the American Family Field. So they're like, we'll feel a bit better about it. But I don't expect to get enough votes from Republican caucuses to pass the bill. That means Democrats have to get involved somehow. Will Republicans who run both houses give them an opportunity, Democrats, to shape this package, to request things, say, okay, I'll vote for it if you give me
X,
this.
Y, and Z. Mm-hmm.
Or they say, here's your deal, take it or leave it, and if you guys don't vote for the Brewers, go away.
All right, it's definitely going to be something interesting that we'll see very soon. All right, thanks for joining us.
Thanks to Emily and JR for that report. To find all of our Capital Connections segments, just head to our website, cbs58.com.